Hello everybody, SlimKirby here, and welcome back to the Animal Crossing Let's Play. You are currently watching the abridged portion of this playthrough, where I cut out all the fluff and simply talk about my adventures of playing through an entire year of Animal Crossing in a summary format. If you'd rather watch the playthrough in its entirety, check out the video description for a link to a playlist that has all the episodes and stream sessions I've done, raw and unedited. But if you'd rather stick around for these videos, well, just sit back and enjoy my adventures through Popstar. Tuesday, June 10th. After calling out Bill's secret relationship in a letter, Bill sent me a rather humorous response back in return, calling my letter troublesome. I think that gives away the whole ballgame though. If my letter was so troublesome, that must mean that what I highlighted would need to be addressed, creating more trouble for him. And I don't exactly see him denying it either. Bill and Maddie shippers out there, now is the time to start going nuts. I also like how he ended the letter with, "That's the end of my letter." Sounds like a very unoriginal closer that I would use in my letters. Also, I'm still very salty about the fishing tourney. Go figure. I even wrote Freya a very backhanded letter today to display my saltiness. I at least said thank you and gave her another 67 shirt to compensate, but I'm sure the big green monster is still making its very obvious presence known. I at least tried to use some of my saltiness in a productive manner though, by catching some large bass ahead of the next tournament, just to give me a buffer of some kind. I really don't want to lose the next one, if you can't tell. Oh yeah, after it had rained for the last few days, I finally got a chance to dig up some gyroids, but nothing new was found unfortunately. Bummer. Wednesday, June 11th. I think I caught Bill and Maddie again, but this time they weren't even concealed by the night sky and were plainly in sight in the acre of the town fountain, which wouldn't exactly provide a lot of privacy, especially with Mr. Fishstick Gorilla walking around not too far from them. Maybe these two deep down want to get caught or something. Wouldn't put it past them anyway. I wrote Maddie today to tease her about this occurrence, even giving her a 67 shirt in the process. I mean, I got one from a favor, and Freya was still wearing hers, so may as well get some use out of it. On the subject of favors, and funnily enough Freya, she asked us for another ball quest today, and although I did go for it at first, I quickly abandoned it when a ball miraculously got pushed all the way from Cookie Mountain to the ocean below. I can't really even blame Cookie for this one either, because I thought I at least had an entire acre of space between me and the water, with even some trees and other obstructions nearby as well. The fact that I got all the way there is nothing short of a long shot, but it happened just the same. It's a shame too though, because I was kinda hoping a random favor from Freya could somehow result in the last painting from her, since we know she does have it, and that way I can finally move on from the fishing trauma. But nah, looks like we're still in it to try and win it. As for other happenings, terrible clothing sale at Nook's today, and I did see Wisp tonight for another guaranteed new gyroid. I luckily found another ball during this time as well, and managed to complete the Freya favor after all, but as I probably should have expected, no painting resulted from this. Also, we are officially less than 1 month to go for this playthrough. That's pretty exciting. Thursday, June 12th. A pretty simple neighbor day with not much to talk about. More of my neighbors are talking about moving. I'm being constantly asked to go to Pieces to give Billy something he forgot. You know, the usual stuff. Maddie is now wearing the 67 shirt, which is kinda cool though. Although Maddie 67 doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Ava 67 or even Freya 67. Good hustle though. I also started thinking of one more minor tree layout change before I end the project, just to give me a little more space to walk around town in, as my current layout is still made for the perfect town rating, which I clearly don't need anymore. These days, I'm more about convenience than the objectives, or at least depending on the objectives, of course. Friday, June 13th. Today being the second Friday in June means that we have another holiday today, because it's graduation day. Now, I don't think this is an actual holiday in real life, but it does kind of fit the general time frame of when school gets out for the summer, so I get it. As usual, head to the fountain to see Tortimer, and after bumming us out with all that typical "now it's time to get a job and be an adult" talk, he gives us a tailor model, a model of the Able Sisters shop. Guess it makes sense that I'd get that before too long. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as other accomplishments for the day, I bought some more paint to change the color of my house back to what it's supposed to be, again, and started working on my final tree layout, which again basically just consists of me removing any trees that seem or feel in the way in some of the acres. I'll basically be working on one row at a time, and I won't do it every day, as some days have more important things going on, like the fishing tourney for example. Saturday, June 14th. With the fishing tourney tomorrow, I decided to use today to get mentally ready for it, and the best way to do that is by writing Freya a message on the bulletin board and telling her that she's going down this week. Hey, you gotta have confidence in yourself, right? Anyway, for today, I just ended up spending the day working on another row of the tree layout modification plan, and then also saw Gracie today too for another duplicate, which of course I item coded into something else. We also had another camper this weekend named Leopold, but he's a jock, so I'm not really interested in what he has to say or do. Again, looking at crankies and snooties for this. And finally, let's take care of the music. For our town tune, I decided to pick something summery, which landed on this. Name that tune. And for KK Slider, I can't believe we hadn't gotten this one yet, but we blasted some KK Rock. Sunday, June 15th. Well guys, it's Sunday, so you know what that means. That's right. Happy Father's Day! And you thought I was going to talk about the fishing tournament. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But yeah, third Sunday in June is Father's Day, so you get a nice letter from your pops, and then if you talk to Tortimer, you'll get a locomotive model, a model of the train you used to get here. Why? Because, I don't know, maybe your dad works on a train or something. But yeah, it is worth mentioning that you will only get this item on this particular Sunday, and not the fishing tournament reward. So if you're hoping to use this Sunday for that, and not for Father's Day, well, you will sadly be disappointed. Anyway, happy Dad Day to all the dads out there. Anyway, before I get to the fishing, I did a few other things in town. I did end up spending a little bit of time with Leopold at his campsite, but didn't actually get any of the camper items, just a radiator. However, I did use an item code to get one of the camper items, just to at least get something. Cookie also helped us with getting a pitfall today that we used on Poncho, who had been definitely asking for it after some of his shenanigans lately. It does seem like Cookie and I are getting along a bit better after our little mishap 2 weeks ago, and I am happy about that. We're getting down to the last few weeks of this project, and I really didn't want to spend them fighting with her. Okay folks, it's fishing time, and guess what? Freya is actually fishing again, so we are going to have a chance to get some revenge on her after what happened last week. Now, I had been fishing throughout the week, and I did have some large bass in reserve that I could use today, but I still tried to catch a few extras today just in case. As expected, it was still a pain, but it definitely felt less annoying than the previous 2 weeks. I managed to get 26 inches pretty early, which was better than Freya's score last week, so I felt pretty confident going into the evening. As we got closer and closer to the buzzer, I kept turning in the rest of my collection, and once again it showed me as the leader seconds before the clock hit the deadline, still with that 26 incher. So, good news and bad news. Good news, I did end up winning the fishing tournament, but bad news, I didn't get the painting. Instead, I got the NES game Balloon Fight. However, more good news, if anything, this did actually prove my theory, as Balloon Fight was literally one of the 2 or 3 furniture items I still needed from my catalog, which proved that the tournament does focus on unowned items first, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. This means I unfortunately need to do the tournament again, but this time I'm going to quite literally make sure that the flowery painting is the only item I need that can be given, basically forcing it into my collection, and I technically have 2 tourneys left where I can do this, so I'm feeling pretty damn good about my odds. We'll check out Balloon Fight later, as I had a big day today, and I was also planning to see Wisp that night as well, who only gave me another Gyroid. My Wisp odds are only getting better too, as I think at this point I actually have closer to a 5% chance of getting it now, so even if we somehow get screwed over by the tournaments, there is still that Hail Mary chance if I absolutely need it. I really don't plan on relying on that though, so no matter what, I'm going to do everything that I can to win. Mark my words. Monday, June 16th. I head back to the Able Sisters today for what will likely end up being my very last pattern of the project. Ultimately, despite not really vibing well with how inefficient the editor is compared to future games, I think we made some good patterns overall, and we have done 9 of them, which is pretty nice. Also, I suppose it is worth mentioning that you can only have 8 patterns on you at a time, but you can technically have more than that by using the Able Sisters shop as a storage space. Basically, if you save one of your patterns on some clothing or an umbrella in the shop, you can use that pattern's spot without technically erasing it, and then just swap in and out as you need and see fit. This might also work with the patterns you have displayed on the painting stands too, but I admittedly didn't test it out on any of those patterns because I didn't want to accidentally delete any of them. I wasn't too crazy about the original Kirby one I did though, so I just made the new pattern over that one. Anyway, in regards to the pattern I made this time, I decided to make this one in dedication to Biscuit, our own very good boy. And for the character I chose, I picked another good boy in the form of Bandana Waddle Dee from the Kirby series. I thought this was a very appropriate character to use, and I really liked it the way that it came out too. I put on the initials BD for Bandana D, but you could also look at the initials as Biscuit Dog too, so really everything about this pattern and dedication just really worked out for me. I put the stand outside his house and was pretty much ready to move on from there. Before I got started with any of this though, I had perhaps another one of my more insane project ramblings. I don't really even remember how it started, but at one point I started singing the Kirby Right Back Atcha English theme song. And from there, I started listing characters and trying to determine if they were maximum pink or not. So like, as an example, Clefairy and Jigglypuff, not maximum pink. But characters like Kirby, Birdo, and Patrick Star, definitely more maximum pink. It even got to a point where I was labeling some characters as minimum pink or maximum fuchsia and not pink, and it was just an absolute disaster. I think ultimately what I determined as maximum pink was not just being the color pink, but rather a very strong and bold pink color, again, like the 3 I mentioned earlier. You can try to go back and watch this section if you really want more context. It's near the end of session 60, but only do so if you have the brain cells to spare, because I still wonder what the hell I was on at this point. Again, probably just a side effect of doing 340 days of this stuff. Tuesday, June 17th. Red came back. Did he have the painting though? Of course he didn't. Oh well, this at least allows us to item code the last NES game we need from him, which I believe completely isolates the flowery painting as the only furniture item we could get from the fishing tournament, so we'll see this weekend if we can finally put that to rest. I also got to play Balloon Fight finally, which was the game we won from the last fishing tournament, and it's pretty cool. Another candidate for what I consider the best NES game featured in this title. It's very arcade-like in nature, which gives it replayability, but doesn't feel as archaic to play as Clue Land or even the Donkey Kong games, which I personally appreciate. It was a good time, and I can say I honestly really enjoyed my fishing prize. For the rest of the day, I just worked on another row of trees for the tree layout, and also did some neighborly favors, starting to worry a little bit because tomorrow we will have another move out. And I don't know, I just have a gut feeling we could be losing someone big this time. Also, I don't think I actually mentioned this on the day where I did, but we won't be losing Lulu. I did write her a letter this past week and decided to lock her in because she has been pretty decent so far. Plus, she does have the allure of having a parallel dimensional twin, so having that novelty kind of saved her from being tossed aside and so quickly. Or wait, was the Pieces Lulu the clone and this one the real Lulu? I don't remember. Either way, let's turn the clock forward and find out who we are losing. Wednesday, June 18th. I knew it. I knew we were going to lose someone big, and although this probably wasn't the worst loss, it still stung pretty bad, not gonna lie. But yeah, we actually lost Freya today. In addition to being the target of Ringra's desires and affections, Freya was honestly the biggest and most impactful move-in of the 2008 half of this project, at least alongside Biscuit anyway, and I really liked her. She was a potential love interest too, but after that wasn't going anywhere, she still stuck around as a key player of the Popstar crew and showed some real growth and development as a neighbor, being kind of standoffish and blunt at the beginning, but really easing off that mentality and becoming like one of the gang afterwards. And hell, even during this month so far, she's been a very worthy competitor and rival for the fishing tournaments, which gave her some real nice recency relevance as well. I hope that taking the victory last weekend isn't what scared her off though, but surely that wouldn't have shook her that much, as I don't really see that being a factor of her personality. I don't know though, it's hard to say. We're really gonna miss you, Freya. As much as I would have loved to have seen you at the end, you still lasted for a good 148 days. Happy trails, and make sure you tell Ringra I said hi. I mean, she is probably going to move in with him, right? I wasn't too thrilled with our newest neighbor, though. I mean, hell, Cherry had a strong follow-up in Cookie, at least. But for Freya's replacement, we got Sue-E. And, ugh, I really hate that name. It's supposed to be a pun on Sue-E, the call that you would make for a pig, and it's just kind of cringe, to be honest. Over time, I did kind of appreciate her design and general look, but I still was just not vibing with her at all. Definitely seems like this one is going to be a reroll, but we'll have to see how these next few days play out. As for the rest of the day, just minor chores and routine stuff. Got another row of trees done, found another new gyroid since the rain stopped. I rummaged through Cookie's drawers when I went to visit her today. Don't worry, I wasn't looking for anything personal or private, just some herbs and topical creams, that's all. Oh, and Jeremiah started talking about the Guy Manual, which I guess is supposed to be the general guidelines of how to be a guy, which in the context of this game, I guess means being obsessed with fishing and catching bugs, which, seems a little short-sighted if I'm being blunt. Another big highlight of the day is actually playing golf, one of the NES games I got recently, which I believe is a red item if I'm not mistaken as well. Now, I will say, if you're going to play an NES golf game, I would heavily recommend NES Open Tournament Golf and not this game, as that game is a much improved version of this with various quality of life updates and features, where the lack of those updates in this one made it kind of frustrating to play. Namely, you don't actually know how far you're going to hit the ball in this one when you switch to different clubs. You just kind of have to guess, and that's not really that helpful. Even if they don't show an exact indicator, just having some general numbers on screen could at least help you deduce the general location a lot better and prevent you from accidentally overhitting and striking it out of bounds or something. The putting, though, is actually really well done. It kind of reminds me of how it's handled in the Game Boy and Mario Golf games, actually. So, having that knowledge allowed me to really take advantage of that aspect of my short game. I ended up playing half of a full 18, so 9 holes, and my scores varied from quadruple bogey at worst, when I was first trying to figure out the game, to actually getting birdie on a few holes, so I'll say I at least succeeded to some degree. If the game had more information and details when it came to shot distance, this could be another highlight for this game's NES library, at least for me anyway. As it stands now though, yeah, stick to NES Open Tournament Golf, or hell, even Mario Golf for that matter. Thursday, June 19th. Not a whole lot going on today. Gulliver showed up again, but since we're done with him for now, that just means we're getting another island item from him, which I guess is something. I also did work on the final row of the town for the tree layout, and then did a bunch of favors, one of which ended up being a rather large chain of favors that pretty much led me to talking to everyone in town when I only meant to talk to a few people. Also, even though I don't really care for her that much, Sue-E was spitting out some straight facts today when she shouted that nothing in life is free, something that I feel like a lot of people these days seem to forget, or just flat out ignore due to entitlement or ignorance. This may be a step in the right direction, Sue, but you're gonna have to do better than just state common sense in an effort to stay here. Friday, June 20th. If yesterday was low on activity, today was even lower. However, I did take today as an opportunity to get some more large bass for the fishing tournament on Sunday, really hoping that this will be the absolute final push we need for that flowery painting. Also decided to write Vladimir a letter today that was based on the very first line of Futurama, one of my all-time favorite cartoon shows. I did also see Wisp tonight, but he got us only a gyroid again. But with that being said, I will say that the new tree layout did actually help me find Wisp Spirit pieces pretty quickly this time, so I am already seeing a benefit with that. I also found a pear lying on the ground in one of my bottom acres, and since I cut down nearly all of my pears in this area many months ago, this piece of fruit had quite literally been here since probably close to the beginning of the project, which is pretty funny thinking about it. Even more so because I just randomly decided to eat it because I just figured it was probably not worth selling at this point, and I just wanted to get rid of it from my inventory. Well, if I keel over tomorrow, my animal buddies probably know to phone the hospital immediately. Just saying. Saturday, June 21st. Today we had Lucky the dog camping out in town this weekend, but since he is a lazy villager, I was too lazy to do any sort of gaming with him. Besides, as I mentioned before, I'm looking for crankies and snooties for this, not lazies. Wendell was here as well, which means we also got another island item checked off of our list using item codes, and now we're getting so very close to being completely done with the furniture set. Man, I can't believe we are less than 20 days from the finish line at this point. Today's main theme was the concept of fun, which means we ran around town singing the fun song from SpongeBob SquarePants. I even wrote a letter to Biscuit singing the song as well, or at least a variation of it that combines both SpongeBob and Plankton's versions. Biscuit was probably a little concerned about the ending, but again, he's a good boy, so he has nothing to worry about. And sure enough, this level of fun carried over to the town tune as well. So here, have a listen. I didn't actually make this my song for the week though, as I had another one in mind. Basically, being so close to the end of this endeavor, I wanted to honor the journey with a song that really displays my commitment and dedication to this project, basically showing how far I'll go with something when I am truly that inspired. Name that tune. And for our KK Slider song this week, we decided to listen to The K-Funk, the second to last song of the KK library we still have to get for our music player. Only one more concert to go before we have everything. At least for the music, anyway. Sunday, June 22nd. To likely no one's shock, I only kept my attention on the fishing tournament today. There were other things that were happening, but nothing really that significant. I started the day early, getting the record pretty quickly, but only with the smallest large bass sizes. It was either 20 or 21 inches, so definitely not a score I expected to win with. Like the previous week, I had some large bass saved up that I caught previously, but I went ahead and got a couple of more just in case, as I didn't want to take any chances with this one. When I felt like I had enough, I moved the clock forward to about 5:50, giving me 10 minutes to turn in what I had left and push the score over the threshold if necessary. And this time, it was necessary. Sally took the lead with a 22-incher during the day, and I was literally praying to turn in one that was at least 25 inches, and after back-to-back 21s and 22s, I finally got my 25, literally 4 minutes before the buzzer. I don't remember if this one was part of my reserve stock or one I caught today, but regardless, let's just say I'm happy I came prepared. After getting the 25, I felt pretty confident we were going to win. Yeah, there are 26s and 27s that exist, but I feel like I haven't seen any of my neighbors push past the 25 mark whenever they have one, so I at least started breathing more easily. I checked things at home once it was over, and sure enough, we took victory again. And to my greatest delight of the entire playthrough, we finally got the reward we were seeking for so very long now. Yes! Yes! Oh my god, yes! It's over! It's over! Oh. Oh my god. We finally have the flowery painting, the last item we need to donate to the museum. I ran like mad to Blathers, gave him the priceless work of art, and got the text I was literally dying to read. I've never completed the museum in any Animal Crossing game. I was close in New Leaf, and in New Horizons I had everything except the damn artwork, although I swear Red is stingy as hell with the art in that game, not to mention all the damn fakes you'll likely get as well. Given, it's probably easiest to get all the artwork in this game since you are given the opportunity to use Wisp in these fishing tournaments to your advantage, but think about all the other items you'd likely have to sit through to even get a good enough opportunity. At the core, I feel pretty accomplished though that I didn't have to use any item codes in particular for paintings. You could argue that other item codes and usage of those codes made my chances better for the second half of the playthrough, and to that, that's fair, but considering how much later I brought Wisp into the fold, and not to mention how late I started focusing on the catalog, it's really hard to say. Point is, the museum is done, our collections are complete, and we'll get our final museum reward in just a few days. And with that, we are done with the fishing tournaments. There is one more Sunday in June, and I might throw in a couple of fish in just to see what happens and what we would actually win at this point, but it's definitely not something I'm going to try as hard for this time, since I got everything I wanted from this. Overall, these tournaments felt harder to win in June than they were in November. I don't think the odds are really any different, but I swear, the Carp and Barbel Steed were just biting way more this time, and it was honestly tilting me a bit when I was spending literally an hour and a half grinding for large bass. It just felt good to be finally done, and I was happy to finally be able to move on. And, well, speaking of which, Monday, June 23rd. Well, it took a while to get to this point, but we are finally in the post-museum world with only about 16 or 17 days left. I think it's about time we just relax these next few weeks, and just enjoy our remaining time in Popstar, and maybe collect a few items here and there to fill in any missing catalog gaps. Speaking of which, I was actually surprised we didn't get our museum reward today. I don't know if the day had to refresh before it officially acknowledged that it was complete, or the museum batch of letters for the day, which were already fossil submissions, were already at max capacity or something, but I found this oddity interesting. Another interesting factor I noticed today was that Chip wrote on the bulletin board, making it seem like he was signing off from the fishing tourney for the month, which didn't make sense considering there is still one Sunday remaining. Maybe he sends this after 4 tournaments no matter what, as some Junes won't have 5 Sundays like this year did. That would be my only explanation anyway. I can and will confirm that he will still host one more though, in full transparency. For this relaxing neighbor day, there wasn't really much to report on. I played a fun little soccer game with Biscuit at one point, and thankfully our game helped me later because Sui wanted me to complete the ball quest, and since me and Biscuit played our hearts out, I knew exactly where the ball was, allowing for a quick and easy transfer. I gotta say, as much as I do want to reroll Sui, so far she hasn't been too bad. Her endgame model doesn't actually do her justice, as she actually looks pretty cute in promotional art and official renders. I still can't get over that name though. It's really a bit too much for me. That will do it for another Animal Crossing episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Reminder that you can find links in the video description for the unedited recording sessions of this playthrough, as well as individual links to the streams in particular that featured the days covered in this episode summary. Until we meet again, this has been SlimKirby, and I'll see you guys next time. Later, folks.